G'day, it's FIDE Master John Curtis. I want to look at a couple of games today. One against Pilzerich, who's on the board here at the moment. They're 5-minute games. I just found that they might be suitable for beginners and as far as how you should get your pieces working and develop your pieces in the opening, and how you can generate ideas, positional ideas, to give yourself an attack. And my opponent is 2,121 rating. As you can see from the scoreboard here, he plays with an accuracy of 81%, and yet he still loses. Anyway, we'll look at this game. White plays e4. I'm White, the magician, named after Miguel Tal, of course, and Black Pilzerich. And Pilzerich is from Austria. Okay, so C5. I push past because straight away I think, well, I don't want to develop his pieces on black squares and give him what he wants. So what I want to do is I want to push past and get some sort of spatial advantage and try to build up my pawn formation in the middle of the board. So he plays d6 and I continue with e4. That's my plan, to get the spatial advantage in the centre with that pawn on d5 thrust on his side of the board, but protected. And if I could just build around that, and maybe I could develop some sort of advantage if he goes astray. Now he plays a6. Now the computer says knight f3 was a better move, just threatening the pawn. I can see why. Anyway, I played a4. That's to restrict his pawns on the queen side. Remember, I want to go for space. Part of gaining space is the process of restricting your opponent's moves and possibilities. And he wanted to play b5, and he would have had a very nice game if he was allowed to push that pawn to b5. g6. Again, the computer says knight to f3 was a better move. Now I played knight to f3, and the computer said knight to c3 was best. But my reasoning behind this is this. He hasn't played knight to f6. Now, he plays g6 with the idea of bishop g7. Now, he might just continue with bishop g7. In actual fact, I didn't like bishop g4. Right? Pinning my knight against my queen. I want to keep my knights. I like knights. You see on the board back there? The knight. Right, I love the knights. As a matter of fact, I was even thinking of doing a video on Blackburn, the Black Death. I noticed a couple had been done before, but I thought, well, I'll just give my own special treatise on it. I did see a very interesting game that I thought I might like to include. Anyway, another time. Bishop g7's played, and you see that the computer again says knight f6. So obviously, maybe he's got something against knight f6, but he plays with 81% accuracy, and the computer gives him a thumbs up. I played a5. The computer said knight c3 was better. Well, frankly, I think my move's better. But anyway, he played knight f6. He finally did it, and he got a star, best move. Okay, so I thought, well, I'll play knight to c3. And we'll see how he goes. It says bishop to d3 was better. I wouldn't have liked bishop to d3 after c4. I would have hated that position, so I don't know where the computer is getting its ideas from. Anyway, castle. I played knight d2. I got a thumbs up. The computer says no, bishop c4. Well, I don't like the computer's move at all. I like e6 for black here. He played e5. Computer says knight b5 to d7. I mean, what's right and what's wrong? I like to actually e6 and trying to break up the white dominance of the control of the central squares. Anyway, I played knight c4. I finally got a star out of the rotten computer. Knight c4. The whole idea is I want to go to b6 and hop in there and cause him some trouble. So he played queen to c2. He gets a star. I can't believe he gets a star for that move. You know, I popped my knight in there and said, hey, what's your castle doing in there, bro? Anyway, he played rook to a7, best move. Well, he didn't have any choice. That's why it's the best move. Anyway, what did I do? f3. I got a star for that. Logic was to support my pawn formation as much as I don't like doing it. And I'm thinking that maybe if I can just put my pieces on better squares and hold back from that knight. Yes, knight f5 to d7. He put the wrong knight, I believe, on d7. Because if he played knight on the f file to d7, he would have quickly been able to push his pawn to f5 and cause me some trouble. As it was, I was happy about what he did, so I put my knight over there and protected my knight. I did exactly what I tell players not to do. I put the knight on the side of the board, and I broke the rule, Der Springer am Rande bringt Schande. Der Springer, the knight, on the side of the board brings thunder, lightning, disaster, and chaos, right? But I put it there. But I had a reason. Good chess players often have reasons. I'm not saying that I'm a great chess player. I'm just saying that I had a reason. It was to support my other knight. And I didn't. Now he can't take my knight because the pawn can recapture and then I'll win his rook. That's the logic behind it. Anyway, so he plays knight to h5. So I thought, well, okay. So he's going over there. He wants to play f4. I thought, well, I've got to get my pieces working. So I played bishop e3. And I got a star for that. The computer does say g3 is a good move. Okay, but I thought, oh, I could do that later if I need to. Chase him away if he comes in. Anyway. So I played knight. He played knight to f4. As you can see by the bar on the left-hand side of the board, white's got a big advantage. Anyway, seeing he was doing nothing, I thought, well, I'll play b4. I got a thumbs up for that. Computer says, no, just chase him away and play g3. But I thought to myself, why should I chase him away and weaken my pawn structure? He's not doing anything. If he's not threatening me, well, why not threaten him? So I thought, well, if he takes the pawn, I can take the knight, and then my bishop would be on his pawn. My bishop would be able to go down there and take that rook off, right? So I thought, well, that's a good move. Just push the pawn forwards. He can't take it. Anyway, so next move, he plays f5 and he gets a star. Finally! He should have had that done three moves ago or something, that move. Anyway, I wasn't worried about that. I just pushed his knight away and said, well, go somewhere else. But the computer says I should have taken the pawn off. Computers are usually right in those positions. It's a bit of a weakness. Maybe I should have done it earlier, I don't know. But we'll find out in a minute. But it didn't say it was that bad. It was question mark, exclamation mark, right? Which is not too bad. I got 98.4% accuracy in the game. So, I mean, I'm only 1.6% off perfect. Thank you, guys. Right. Anyway, I just have a look. Where's my knight? There's my knight. You can see my knight on the board there behind me. And anyway, what's going on here? I took the pawn off. At last, I got a star again. I'm a star. And he took with the knight, so I took with the knight. And I got a star for that too. Okay. Now, he took with the pawn. That's the only way he can take. And then I thought to myself, Well, I've got all my pieces working on the queen side. The knight's doing a good job. The bishop's doing a good job threatening the pawn. I thought, but he's starting to cause some trouble on the king side. And I thought, well, how can I distract him from that? And then I found this move. Boom! Sorry about that. Your eardrums might have burst. D3 star. Now I feel like a damn star after that move. Right. Now, really, you can't stop the pawn being pushed one more square and it wins a bishop. What do you know? Holy moly. Anyway, so he moves his queen to D8 and then I say to myself, well, check can't be too bad. Develops a piece and then his king has got to move. He moved his king and then I thought to myself, right, now that I've got all that worked out, why not just go and boom, push that pawn all the way down. Now I'm threatening pawn takes bishop equals queen. So he took that off, pretty well forced. Now it's in positions like this, you don't want your opponent to get counterplay. Now you know you've got his rook trapped in the corner. You know you're going to take a piece off with the bishop. You wouldn't take it with the knight, for instance, right? Because the rook could hit your queen and all the fiddling around that goes on. So you take with the queen. Straight down his throat, right? He hasn't got time to breathe. And then, not only that, he hasn't got time to mount an attack. The only move he's got is queen to f6 maybe, right? Well, he leaves his queen there. And I say, well, you leave your queen there, buddy. With all the advantages I've got in this position, including being a piece up, I'm changing queens. And I got another shiny star. I feel like a sheriff here. The sheriff of the chessboard. Anyway, rook takes, rook recaptures. He gets a star only because it's the only move on the board. And then I recapture with the pawn. Do you notice his rook is still trapped on A7? Look at this, look at this stupid castle here. Anyway, so he played knight back, and I thought to myself, wow, he's got a knight trapped in there. Why not play bishop to D5 and just trap him some more? Because there's nothing he can do, and that way I'll protect my pawn, my e-pawn. And he took it. So I took back with the pawn. And then he pushed the pawn forwards. And I thought, well, what do I do now? And I thought, well, I know what I can do. I can just play rook up there, move my rook, turn the attack, his attack, into, and my defence, into an attack. So I've moved my rook, which is attacked, to A4, threatening a counter-attack. Threatening rook takes E4. He gave me a check, and I thought, well, I'll just move forwards one square. And that clears my rook on the back rank to go to F1 or D1. And then, what happened then? No more moves. He resigned. And that was the end of the game. I had 1 minute 31 seconds on my time. I had managed my time perfectly. And you can see a little flag there next to the king. He had given up the game. He'd given up the ghost. So that was the end of that game, right? So that was the game against Pilsevich, right? Now, there's one other game there I want to show you. And we'll go back to that archive. The old archive, wherever it is. There it is, archive. And this game is against, I think it's against Yami. I'll just check. This game is against Yami. Analyze. Yeah, right, here we go. This is my game against Yami. And you might like the end of this game. You might like the end of it. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. Now, ex-Yami I22 is rated 2,159. He's from Germany. but he only got 38.9% accuracy, right? Now, you will remember my last opponent, he was over 2100, but to his credit, he got 80-something% accuracy. He just was a bit slow in getting the F-pawn moving, right? So he paid heavily for that. Other than that, he didn't play a bad game. He was just out-monstered and punished for his poor behaviour on the chessboard. He should have had to make a few better moves. But anyway, Yami's from Germany. Now I'll show you how we play against Yami. And I'm sure, please don't leave the channel now. You are in for a treat with this game, right? I can tell you. E4, knight f6, little book there next to his move, great move. This is the mark of the Alekhine defence. So knight to c3, d6, everything's going as normal. I got 99.3% accuracy. That's why poor old Yami was really up against it. I played with 99.3% accuracy. I wonder if Carlsen plays with 99.3% accuracy in all of his games. Was I better than Carlsen in this game? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, g6. Right, he's getting ready to fianchetto with his bishop. So what am I actually thinking in this position? Well, I'm thinking I want to get a piece out, right? So a knight to just hold the centre and just develop all my pieces. Something logical. Move my white bishop and castle. And he's thinking the same thing. I'll fianchetto my bishop and then I'll castle. I'm surprised he only got 38.9% accuracy, because the full credit to Yami, he's still rated 2,159, and he should be given respect for that, because it's a handy rating, and he knows a lot about chess. He probably just had a bad hair day. Anyway, h3, I thought, well, I'll just test him. I'll just stop his bishop going to g4 and pinning my knight, and just see what he does. Well, he castled, and I'm sure he got a star for that. He got a book move for that, which is a star move of some sort. Anyway, here we go. Bishop e3. I thought, well, I want to play queen to d2, right? I want to play queen to d2, okay? Okay. So I've turned the engine on. Now, I wonder what queen to d2 was like. Castles is a book move. Bishop to e3 is a book move. It says knight b5 d7, it says a6 was best. So the sharper line is a6 with the idea of rook b8 and b5, and they say that seems to be the best line nowadays. So I put queen to d2. Damn, it's the engine saying queen to d2 is excellent, my move, but it does say e5 is best. Now, I really considered that move, and I'll tell you why I considered it during the game. I considered that move because if he plays pawn takes pawn, I can recapture with the pawn and push the pawn forwards again, and then double his e-pawns and try to win an endgame, right? Middle endgame to an endgame, and like sort of keep him under wraps, under pressure. But then I thought twice about it, because after e5 he doesn't have to take. He can actually play knight to e8, and that's why I didn't play pawn to e5. So the computer says e5 is best, but I wasn't sure. So I played an excellent move instead. c5, big star for him, right? Best move. I castled. It says bishop h6 was best move, but I castled. I thought, well, I can play bishop h6 after I put my king in safety. But he got an excellent move for that. He played rook e8. Now, that move is a complete mystery to me. I think he just lost the plot at the time. It must have been over over inspired by my greatness or something, right? Humble, humble, humble. He should have played Queen A5 according to the computer. So I took the pawn off because I thought, well, you beauty. If he takes the pawn, that pawn with the knight, I can take his knight with my bishop, right? So if he captures that knight, I can recapture with the bishop, and then he can't recapture with the pawn because a queen takes queen, right? So he would just lose a knight. So knight takes pawn on c5, loses a knight after bishop takes knight. So we'll see what he does. He plays pawn takes pawn. The computer told him to castle. I played pawn to king 5. I thought about it and I thought I have to expand this position somewhat and take advantage of his pieces not connecting well, not coordinating well, right? And he played knight to h5. Computer says you should play queen to b6, baby, and just give it up a knight. Well, I don't know about that one, but there's nothing else he could do. There was nowhere for the knight to go anyway. So the computer's just being practical and saying, well, there's nowhere for the knight to go. There's nowhere for the knight to go. You might as well just play another move and get your queen out. And that makes sense. Anyway, I played g4. And I thought, well, I'm going to attack that knight because it's trapped. It's got nowhere to go. So it's a logical consequence of my earlier play. He plays queen to a5 and he gets a big star. And at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, I was a little bit concerned because I thought to myself, hold on, maybe my king is not so safe in this position. So I wasn't too happy about this. So I played bishop to b5, cleared my two rooks so they're coordinated together, and pinned his knight against his castle. I want to tie him down. I want him to be bunkered right down there. I want him to be in knots. I want him to be in total knots and total congestion. That's my plan. So he plays rook to d8. Remember he played rook e8 earlier on. The computer says, oh, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible move. Oh, dearie, dearie me, what on earth are you doing? The analysis machine was probably having a breakdown and fusing all its wires. Anyway, he plays his rook there and now gets a question mark, exclamation mark, saying it's an inaccuracy, and rook f8 was best, protecting his king. Well, then he would have just lost a horsey. I would have ripped his knight off, and things would have just got progressively worse for him. Anyway, I took his knight because I thought he's not doing anything. I'll take his horsey. He can't take the pawn in the middle because his rook again is trapped on the back rank. So he played a6, right? He plays a6. So I thought to myself, well, I don't want to take the knight. That just helps him. So I thought, well, I'll move my bishop back. And I've got a star for that move, a star, a mighty star. And then, boom, he comes up and he hits my bishop. He wants to push all his pawns down and come and get my king or something. He's finally remembered that he's 2,159, he's supposed to attack. But he's a piece down and struggling with a funny position. Anyway, so I took the pawn with check. I thought that's a good clearing move. That'll keep him honest. Anyway, he took it off. He was supposed to go in the corner according to the computer. So I played queen checks. I thought, well, I'll get a check out of this. And he played e6 question mark. He should have gone to e8, right? See where the arrow is pointing? That's where he should have gone. Anyway, I thought, well, I'll bring a horsey in. bringing in the cavalry, right? Not to save us, but to destroy him. The cavalry is supposed to be coming in to save you, but he's not doing too well. So he played King G8. The computer said that was the best move. Anyway, I took the pawn with check, and then he goes in the corner. Best move, because if he comes out, it's checkmate. So I gave him a horsey check, and for some of you out there, you may have seen this before. He goes there, so I give him double check. Not one check, 2 checks in a row. It's like giving him a left cross and an uppercut. Anyway, what does he do now? He moves in the corner, and I say, hey baby, I've seen this on the chess.com puzzles. So I play Queen to G8 check. Got a big star and an arrow, telling me that I'm pointed in the right direction. Right, and then he rook takes, and then the knight checkmates. What a game. I'm really proud of that one. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, telling you all about it. But just remember, get your pieces on the right squares, develop your pieces logically, get them all coordinated, and you too can play games like that. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time on the next video.